All right, how's everybody doing? I am live. I just thought I wanted to play some NCAA Gamebreaker. Uh, no pun intended, but NCAA Gamebreaker 2004 is kind of broken. I remember playing uh, I think it was, I think I was playing a season mode with Louisiana Tech, and there was a certain option play that I found that it would just break the AI. I mean, you could like, I mean, it was like a guaranteed touchdown every single play. I don't know if I can find that specific play again, but I like NCAA Game Breaker 2004. Um, it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. Um, it's leagues below 2K and even Madden, or EA, I should say. But it's a fun little football game. Um, doesn't get too much attention these days, so I'll just jump right in. The cool thing about the career mode is that it forces you to start off at a smaller school, which I think I think that's how college football games should be. Is they should make you start off at a smaller school and then build up from there. So here I go. I don't really know exactly how everything works, but I'm just gonna see what I'm gonna do. So the rice schedule is Houston, Duke, Texas, Hawaii. I think that's San Jose State, Navy, Fresno, Nevada, Tulsa, SMU, UTEP, Louisiana Tech, and that's it. I think I'm gonna change Texas to I'll take North Texas. I don't want to get walloped in that game. Take a look at my roster. The roster is actually kind of hard to read, or at least they're not the way we expect them in 2K games and in EA football. So I don't even know what I'm looking at. QB. Guessing OA is overall. Looks like I have a decent halfback. Pretty good linebacker. And that's about it. I'm going to bump this all the way up. Penalties. Wow, they give you options of low or high. Nothing in the middle. I'll leave it on high to get a little bit more realism, I think. I'll bump this up to 180. I think I'll just leave all that for now. Okay, pretty simple menu system. I guess we'll get started at Houston. All right, so first question of the night is, what is the best thing about work/school? Well, that depends on a lot of different things, actually. I mean, I could say that the best thing about school is that it ends. I'm talking about like middle school and high school. Best thing about work, I can be pretty cynical and just say nothing, or I get paid, right? But I think if I want to be a little bit more positive, I'll say that the best thing about school, or the best thing about work, is working alone. Because working alone, I feel like the anxiety of having a job that you don't like specifically is that you're constantly receiving input, like sensory input from various sources. You're constantly being told what to do, where to go, where to move this or that, or you're constantly being redirected, micromanaged, right? And that's really the stress of work, is that the stress of work is being constantly, I think, redirected. And that's why I like to work by myself. I do roofing, commercial roofing sometimes, and probably the best part about it, besides getting paid, of course, is that you can
first down, Houston at the 20-yard line.
I can work by myself, which is great.
Run up the middle.
And I can be left alone in my thoughts, or I can listen to podcasts, or I can just, go at my own pace. It's not that I'm lazy or I don't like working steadily. I just don't. I just know what my pace is, and if I can help it, I want to go at I want to go at my own pace, and I know when I'm going to finish, and I know what I have to finish, and that's that. So the best thing about working a bread and butter type job, one that you wouldn't really do unless you were being paid, is working alone. Working alone can actually be peaceful in that case.
Number 16, back to throw. He throws the ball over the middle, incomplete.
I forget the controls for this game. I think it's... Is it...
The Owls set up in a four-man front.
It's L2 and triangle.
He throws it. Pass falls incomplete.
I think. It's 4th and 1. That's not what I wanted to do.
Houston aligns in punt formation.
I don't know how to audible out into a punt formation. I'm going to pick up the ball.
The punt is down at the 15-yard line.
The defense hardly broke a sweat, just enough to get the ball back for their offensive partners.
Shotgun. Do a little run play.
He takes it right up the gut. He didn't get anything, and that'll bring up 2nd and a bunch.
Here's a good question. What kind of music do you like to listen to? That can be a very difficult, not difficult, but a very vast question.
Rice lining up, wishbone with 3
On
backs.
any given day, I'm probably listening to
Number 1 scrambles.
synthwave,
Complete. Gain of 6, so that'll bring up 3rd down.
I like heavy music of various kinds, but I also dislike heavy music of various kinds. I have a wide interest in music. I do like old country. I don't like the new sort of
Heads up the side, fumbles it. Number 76 comes up with it for the offense.
new sort of like rap. Not rap, but it's a little bit more hip hop like. Turn the game down a little bit. I think it's a little bit too loud. Hopefully that's good. I like old country, kind of like I don't know, like 80s, 90s type country. Or if it's at least old country sounding, then I'll give it a listen. Anything that's too urban cowboy type stuff, I take a pass on that. Don't really like it. As far as like instrumental music, I listen to a lot of film scores. I like a lot of John Williams music, the composer. I do like classical music. That's not what I wanted to do at all. I like classical music. I like certain kinds of like operatic type music. There's a lot of opera that's just obnoxious. I don't know how anyone listens to it. It's just not even pleasant to the ear. But there's other opera type music that is pleasing. That was dumb. As far as like rap music, generally don't listen to rap music. It's not a genre that I like very much, especially the kind of rap music that's popular. I don't really care that people listen to it. It's just I'm not going to make that sort of argument like rap music is degenerative, because that's what they said about early rock and roll in the 50s. And I don't know, maybe there was a point to that, but that argument is long gone. It's not so much that it's degenerative, because any style of music can be degenerative, right? As far as what kinds of things it glorifies, or what kinds of values it instills in people, or how it causes people to imitate what's in the song, or how it presents what is cool or what is not cool, I guess. So anything can be that way. There's, you can find any genre or band that's like that. But the thing about rap is that there's just a lot of it that falls into that category. And so in addition to just not being very musically compelling, it's like the music itself isn't very compelling a lot of the time. it's also just a lot of times the actual lyrical content is really, to me, just trashy. But that's just me. If you listen to it, you know, that's you. But that said, I do on rare occasions find something that has either a rap influence or sound.
Rice in a four-man front.
There's some rap music in like video games that are kind of nostalgic,
Right up the gut.
like in Fight Night 2004, that I kind of like a little bit, but I don't really listen to them very much.
The defense ratcheted up a little bit on
There's that kind of rap music, but there's also
Closed all the lanes.
I'm really unsure about the audio there. I don't want to get drowned out. But there's also rap music, or not rap music, but there's
set up in a four-man front.
like rock music that has a little bit of a rap influence, is like their, as far as their lyrical delivery,
Gain of one.
or bands that will have certain songs that are kind of like that. I think of bands that are like POD, who else? Maybe Linkin Park has a little bit of that, but I don't really listen to Linkin Park. Who else?
So one quarter
Linkin
is in the
Park.
books. With the score, Houston 0, Rice 0.
There's a band, Cutlass, that has a song that has a little bit of that in it. That's pretty good. The Cro-Mags aren't really like a rock rap band, but they do have, I think, one song that kind of sounds like that a little bit. So I don't like rap so much as I like it occasionally in songs.
He passes the first down.
You know, just as like an accent, not really as the main thing.
Good yardage is going to follow.
I also like, I don't know what you call it, world music, like Irish music and different traditional type music. Folk music, if it's actual folk music, then I don't mind it so much, especially if it's older. I don't really like new indie type folk sounding music. Mostly because it's just not musically very compelling for me. As far as electronic, I did say synthwave before, but aside from that, I like trance music, specifically trance, not just EDM in general, but trance music, and then especially trance music that has vocals on it. I do like their sweeping like chord progressions that are very soothing sometimes. I also listen to sacred music, like traditional hymns or like choir type hymn stuff. As far as heavy music, I like
third down from the 23.
Metal from the 80s and 90s. Classic rock, a little bit. I feel like we all had that sort of middle school, early high school AC/DC Black Sabbath phase where that was all we knew about. But I'm way past that. I do like newer metal, but it's got to be a certain way. What else? Punk rock. When I think of punk rock, I don't think of like the Ramones. I think of the Cro-Mags, which I mean, they're considered hardcore,
It's first and goal.
hardcore punk, but it's just punk rock. It's just a variation of it.
They're going to try the outside. Loss of 3 on the play.
You can run out of room on the sidelines in a hurry. That play shows you clearly why.
So that's more or less what I like as far as music. Pretty vast.
Second and goal.
Gotta get a blitz in here. Oh, he's gonna walk it in.
Quarterback sack.
Like that big old cat on the savannah, relentless in his pursuit.
All right, let's see if we can stuff it in the.
Third and goal.
Stuff it before they run it.
On the handoff.
And they got it. Oh. See, that was an AI blunder.
The defense showed their speed. They can outrun the offense.
Defense got after him on that one, partner.
That was a touchdown, right? He totally... How do I go back? Free touchdown, right? But for some reason, number 6 is just like... Yeah, I think I'll try to hurdle 4 guys instead of walking in for easy touchdown. That's a weird name for a play.
Through the uprights, good. With that kick, the score is now Houston 3, Rice 0.
Well, we held them to a touchdown. I mean, a field goal.
Set deep for the return.
So let's try to do something here.
Terrific kick into the end zone.
Just
So they'll put it in play from the
I forget how to take a knee. You're better off passing in this game.
To throw on first down. He's got to scramble.
Wide open. Please catch it. Oh, thank God.
Across the 40.
Come on.
The 30. Heads up the sideline. Past the 10. And for the touchdown.
Touchdown, baby.
As the first touchdown of the game.
Typically don't do this, but just type in Gridiron. Okay. I did not mean to do that, but we'll take it. Close enough. Man, I wish the player models looked like that in EA football. NCAA football from EA. These player models are so much better than what EA Sports had. But the gameplay is nowhere near smooth, which sucks. That's why everyone played EA college football, because of the gameplay.
Number 12, Sets up for the extra point. So he splits the sticks.
Nice.
Good. After the kick, the score is Rice 7, Houston 3. Houston waits for the kickoff.
Kind of an interesting kicking mechanic. There's sort of a good balance when it comes to kicking mechanics. There's some that are overly simplistic, right? Pretty easy. But there's some that a good example is like All-Pro Football 2K8. It's a pretty simple kicking mechanic, but it's actually a little bit harder than you'd think. Nice. It's a little bit harder than you'd think, at least for me, just because I don't play the game so much anymore. The way that it works in that game is you keep the stick back and you have to kick it. You have to time it just right, and you have to kick it at the angle that you want. I think that one actually had the best kicking mechanic of any football game. Just because it didn't need tons of UI, you know, angle and power and direction and all that stuff. I can't remember if they had direction. I think it was just hold the stick back and flick it forward at the right time. And the timing and everything decides the accuracy.
First down at the 28-yard line.
I'm trying to remember what the
He throws the ball. Incomplete.
lineman special moves were. Let's ask another question. Next question is, would you rather be blind or deaf? Considering what I do,
Passes the first down. He's brought down.
I mean, if you were deaf, there's at least some remedy to getting a little bit of hearing back. Like people that are deaf have those hearing apparatus type things that helps them hear or just restores their hearing at all. So there's, as far as right now, the technology in that field provides a better solution for deaf people. But if you're blind, right, you can't see anything. I mean, you instantly become handicapped, you know? And you can't, like, see what's in front of you anymore. That's crazy. I know you'd have to eventually learn to live with it, but imagine never seeing the people you care about anymore. Never seeing the sky anymore, or ever being able to see your favorite sports team or play video games, right? There's so many things that we don't, I guess we do realize, but we don't really think about that we need our eyesight for. So I mean, it would be, if the question is, would you rather be blind or deaf without any technological help? I mean, it would be,
Pass. He passes it.
I
Incomplete.
guess I'd have to choose to be deaf,
Might be seeing these defensive backs in his night
but it would be crazy not to be able to hear music anymore. But it's not as bad as not being able to see, what's in front of you. That's for sure.
Houston at the 42-yard line. They'll run it. Short gain, so that'll set up a 4th down.
Fourth and 7. This time I'm going to actually return the punt.
Number 6, ready for the punt.
Next question is, would you rather not be able to use your hands or not be able to walk?
Inside the 20.
Basically, what do you want to
From the
be able to
17.
use, your hands or your legs?
Still on his feet.
Most of my work involves using my hands, so, and it'd be kind of hard to wrestle without. Maybe I do submission wrestling, by the way. You could still sort of wrestle without legs. It'd be tough without hands. I mean, yeah, without hands.
Flag down.
So I'd have to say hands over legs.
That penalty didn't help at all. They moved back 5 yards. Number 1, looking to throw. Scrambling.
See who's wide open here. I'll just run.
Across the 35. He gets the 1st down.
I was gonna pass it to I think square, but the QB's got a little bit of wheels on him.
Houston in a 4-man front. Going outside.
Yeah, and it's hard to cut in this game.
23, taken down for a loss.
Next question is, what are some things that you shouldn't say at a funeral? Don't do anything that happens in the movie Bad Grandpa, I guess. No, just don't say anything. Would probably be the safest bet. If you're asking what are things you should say, everybody at the funeral probably is there because they respect, whose funeral it is, so you probably don't want to start saying stuff to disrespect anyone. God. I keep pressing square, meaning to press X, because I keep thinking Xbox. I just can't. I can remember it for Xbox, but I get it confused with Xbox and PlayStation 2. And then I'm using it's a gamepad based on the Super Nintendo controller, but it's got 2 shoulder buttons and 2 joysticks. So the buttons X and Y, like on the Xbox controllers, X and Y are flipped, and then B and A are flipped. So X is up, Y is left, B is down, and A is right. So if I look down, it's like another layer of confusion. It's ridiculous. I'm using a Super Nintendo gamepad, thinking about Xbox, but playing a PlayStation 2 game. So that's 3 levels of just confusion to get through. See if I can guess the button here. I guess I could just run back. Next question is, what was the last book you read?
Number 23 gets the carry. He picks up 1 yard.
I've been trying to read novels more recently. For some strange reason, I can't read fiction all that well. I don't know if I've just grown out of being able to read fiction like I used to. I guess I read a lot of reference books like history and manuals and different stuff like that. Stuff that isn't fiction. And so like my mind just got used to reading nonfiction. So there's a couple pulp novels, pulp stories that I have that I've been trying to read.
He's flush from the pocket. The throw to the tight end. Incomplete.
But the last book that I actually read something out of is a controversial book called The Bell Curve by Charles Murray. It's an older one. It has a lot of interesting things in it. It's about like intelligence and how different intelligence levels in different ethnic groups in America, how they may or may not correlate to certain behavioral or certain behaviors that we social behaviors that we see. I needed that catch. So it's a pretty controversial idea. I'm sure we all have ideas on that topic, but it's an interesting book, to say the least. God. Can you throw it at him? Not way in front of him? Because that guy was wide open, but just the way he threw the ball. Even planted my feet. Like, did you really need that huge arc? I don't think you did. Look at that. That's wide open. I don't know if I just didn't press the right button in the right way, but that guy is way open. But he throws it way over here. I mean, maybe that's just physically what was needed. But if he was running this way, probably would have been better. But, I mean, I guess the game did the math. I don't know. At least I'm still up 4 points.
Rice in a three-man front.
Hopefully the audio is still good.
Back to pass on
I don't want the game to be too quiet, but I don't want it to drown me out.
great coverage by the DB.
Oh, the quarterback got away with one there. If the DB was a step quicker, that football is going the other way.
Here's a good question. Would I rather live in an urban area or rural area? That's easy. Rural. I'm not a big city person.
Houston at the 42-yard
I
line.
prefer the tranquility of slightly more rural areas,
He throws the ball.
even suburban areas.
Number 8 pulls it in and moves
I'll
it
take
in.
over something like living in like downtown somewhere. Which I don't live downtown anywhere, but I'm close to downtown. But so I catch all the roads out of here are all, traffic jammed at certain times of the day. If I ever have to get out of here in an emergency, somebody wish me luck because the roads are going to be jammed. I mean,
Houston from the 35-yard
just the noise level.
run up the middle.
More
No
petty
gain.
city ordinances
That'll
to
set up second down and a bunch.
get assaulted by when you least expect it. Homeowners associations. I don't have any experience with the homeowners association right now, but
Set up in a four-man front.
from everything that I've seen or
Incomplete.
heard, I just can't imagine how someone can be the owner of a property, right? And then have some group, the HOA, come along
So it's third down at the 34-yard line.
and tell you that your fence or your lawn or your car parked a certain way is somehow against the rules or whatever it is. As far as I'm concerned, unless they're gonna offer me
Takes the field looking for three.
assistance on my mortgage or anything like that, unless they actually have a stake
Number 7 doesn't get
or
open.
percentage of ownership in someone's property, I mean, they can put their little city ordinances or whatever, where. It's just ridiculous. You own things, but you don't really own things.
Throw. He's got to scramble. And the long pass.
Please catch that.
Number 23.
Preferably on your feet, but I guess I'll take it. Also, in rural areas, it's easier to do things that you wouldn't be able to otherwise do in an urban area, like shoot guns, practice, have animals, have a decent sized, garden. It's just way better.
First and 10 from the 42-yard
Have some
line.
privacy,
The quarterback looks downfield. Number 1 scrambling. Quarterback lets it go. complete. So he goes out of bounds at the 38-yard
So,
line. 4 yards on the pickup.
and even the smell. Urban areas just tend to smell sometimes. Maybe it's just the surrounding industrial areas, but smell can be pretty bad sometimes. The lower population, you know, lower crime rates most of the time.
He throws it. Complete.
Nice catch.
Got enough for the first down.
I thought he was gonna fumble that ball, but he kept it.
Good coverage.
I forget how the option plays work in this game, so I'm just gonna not do any option plays.
He takes it right up
Oh,
the gut.
I thought I was gonna be able to spin out of that, but I guess not. I'm like 2 yards from the goal line.
It's first and goal. Number 23. Touchdown, Rice.
That'll do it.
That's football right there. Big fella snorting and swinging, running back, turning the wheels till he got into the end zone for 6.
I think if I just
Number 12.
play it conservatively now, I should be able to win this game.
The kick is good. So here we stand. Rice, 14. Houston, 3.
Defense hanging their collective heads and seemingly surrendering right now, puffing and pondering.
Houston awaits the kick. Terrific kick into the end zone.
Next question is, would you rather have a grapefruit-sized head
Past the 50.
or a head the size of a watermelon? I guess different people would answer that differently. I'm just going to say that we're talking about what's on my shoulders.
Number 6 takes the handoff. Past the first. He won't go down. 24 yards on the
I mean,
play.
both of those options sound pretty bad.
Great blocking.
Would you rather have the head the size of a softball or of a watermelon? I mean, is there any practical difference? I mean, they're both insane. I guess. I don't think there's really any good answer to that. Both options are stupid.
Houston from the opponent's 44-yard line.
I mean, I guess you could wear t-shirts still if you have a grapefruit-sized head.
He passes the ball. Number 86.
But I guess if you wear a V-neck, you can still wear it if you had a head the size of a watermelon. I guess. That was a dumb question. What do you think your life will look like in 10 years? I don't know. There's a good chance that it may not look very different than it does now. I spend my time working on a lot of creative projects just because that's what I think is worth my time right now. and just in general.
Throws the ball. Number 8.
Somebody stop him.
Chains, first down. Gain of 17.
And so I don't work steadily, you know, like at a 9 to 5 as most people do. And that's just something that I've decided for myself. I completely understand the possible ramifications of, you know, not having steady work. But to me, I want to finish my projects, and
Houston, 3.
there's things that I want to accomplish, and none of those things happen inside of, you know, a desk somewhere in a cubicle or at a restaurant or, you know, whatever jobs are commonly available to me. So
Here's the carry. Gain of 6.
considering that, or taking that into account, what does 10 years of that look like?
Those are your guys up front, Keith.
I love to watch a good unit like
My
believe in each other.
very sincere hope is that I've monetized at least one of my creative endeavors,
Second down. Houston at the
because
7-yard line.
I've had to narrow it down just because
Number 6. Running
certain things that
6.
I used to like to do, like draw, I don't really do anymore, although I've kind of picked it up recently. Like I drew some stuff not too long ago, just kind of practicing for a graphic novel that I might make based on a story that I wrote. So I don't really draw that much anymore, but I would if it was a
7 on for the extra point.
graphic novel or something. So hopefully I can monetize substantially
It's up.
some of these skills that I have that
The score is Rice 14.
uh
10.
are not in high demand. At least I can't, you know, go down to a shopping center and find people that need that skill like I can a regular job.
23 waiting for the kick. What a leg into the end zone. They'll bring that
I
one
guess the dive will work.
first down. Rice at the 20-yard line.
I forgot that I'm running out the clock.
Back to throw. Scrambles. Across the 20. Picks up a couple.
He thought he could outrun
I
it.
do not need to fumble here.
Run east and west against these people.
Four-man front here by the defense. Number 23 into the teeth of the
Ah, should have stayed on his feet.
After games like this, every halfback ought to have to
32. I'm going to see if I can get a short pass. Maybe a scramble here.
by four.
Just need 2 yards.
Rolling out. Across the 30. That'll be a first down.
The offense said, "Here we come, you try and stop us." Defense said, "Okay," but it was a whimper and a prayer and not much help.
Houston in a three-man front. He's flush from the pocket. Number 1 goes to the air. Complete.
Block him. Dang it.
He's got enough for the first
Hoping
down.
my other wide receiver would block him or something. He wasn't close enough.
Rice at the 38-yard line. They're going to try the outside. Loss of one on the
Well, they stuffed that play.
Defense was too fast, the ball carrier was too slow, but either way, didn't amount to much.
Oh, here's a good question. What was your least favorite subject in school? All of them? Not so much the subjects, more so the classes in which they told you about the subjects.
number one looking to throw. The tight end is open downfield, incomplete.
Take that, referee. God, I hated school. It's not because I didn't like learning or I thought I was too cool for it. I just... Such a horrible place to be. I don't know why anyone would stick their children in those places.
Houston in a three-man front.
Everything that I learned in that time period of substance, I learned on my own.
Number 13.
Did you catch it? Well, I got lucky, I guess. Yeah, everything that I learned when I was of high school age was because of my independent study. I mean, to me, at least modern high schools are just breeding grounds for incompetence. And it's not necessarily a student's fault, necessarily. I mean, sometimes it is, but I mean, high schoolers are,
Offense has it rolling here, Keith.
they spend 12 years typically in these government schools, and they come out,
Across the 15. He's got the
qualified to do what exactly? Nothing. Take tests, flip burgers, right? Everyone's constantly talking about the minimum wage, but why? Maybe we would have less minimum wage workers if we stopped creating minimum wage people. People having zero skills coming out of high school, right? You'd think 12 years you'd be qualified to do something practical or useful that somebody wants or would like to invest in.
He hits it. So after that drive, the score, Rice.
And so we have all these
10.
skillless laborers that can't do anything. And it's not that they won't ever,
Waits for the kickoff.
but it's going to take them anywhere from 2 to 4 years of additional schooling to gain some kind of skill in the work in the job market. That's absurd. Not only that, they're going to have to pay for that. I mean, it's always someone's going to have to pay for schooling either way, but it's placed directly on them. And so the burden for that schooling to pay off is even higher.
Attacks the sideline. Incomplete.
It's a lot more comfortable for a quarterback to try to make a play when he
I feel like you could probably reduce high school or reduce like K through 12 by maybe 50%, and you
Houston.
kind of streamline it instead of having granular subjects like calculus, algebra,
Second down. The long throw. Incomplete.
geometry, reading, right? You can have a little bit more like classical education where you have, if I ran a school, I would have something like You have
10, Houston
a
up to 20.
general science class, basic arithmetic, which is like
Passing on this play. Quarterback has a man open in the middle.
adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing.
4 down.
You know, basic math that we all use every day. Civics, which would include history, government, logic, and debate. Um, of course, language, which would be reading, writing,
It'll be first down at the
speech, I guess.
34-yard line.
Um,
Number 16 to take it to the air. The deep pass. Number
got
86
somebody stop him.
catches it for the first down. Across the 25. Across the 15.
Well, he's gone.
Touchdown.
The coverage
You'd have
was
language.
fought through it for the touchdown.
You would have physical education, which would be like general team sports, maybe, or wrestling, you know, self-defense, firearms safety, and then a skill. And I don't mean like a semester of workshop, you know, you made little CO2 cars and you sanded a plank. I mean an actual skill that, you know, you could come out of school, you could come out of public school and actually be qualified to do something, right? You can create a pipeline instead of just an empty pipe that just shoots students out, and you know there's nowhere for them to go. Exactly. If it was more like a pipeline, then they're gonna onside it.
Rice waiting for the kickoff.
Yeah. Whoops.
Number 7 tries
Somebody
the
get
onside
that
kick.
ball, please. Good.
The ball doesn't bounce their way.
If people were actually qualified to do a skill, and the skill could be anything, it doesn't matter. You know, every region would probably have a different selection of what they could teach in that area as far as actually being a pipeline. But I mean, it could be anything. It could be carpentry,
Straight ahead.
welding.
Brought down. That'll bring up second and a few.
It could be, you know, hairstylist. You know, cutting hair. It could be, you know, waste specialist, or in other words, trash man. Right?
Rice from the opponent's 47-yard line.
I mean, think of any skill that doesn't require higher education.
He's got to scramble. Past the 45.
And it's not that you wouldn't have higher education for people that wanted it. It's that you would stop creating environments that in turn create students that don't like to learn, or don't care for it, or don't have an avenue for them to actually do something that's practical, you know? Oh my god. Right off the head? Are you serious? But you know, it kind of goes back to schools being breeding grounds for people that don't want to learn, don't care to learn, are indifferent, uh, cultural things, you know, ethical things that they pick up. Um,
Second down.
I mean, it's crazy.
Going outside.
And they're, you know, everybody talks about homeschoolers and how they're socially awkward because, they're not in a big sea of unsupervised social activity. Um,
At the end of the final quarter,
right.
the score
Everybody says that about homeschoolers,
17.
but there's no reason why they have to be socially awkward and sheltered.
And the
I mean,
score
maybe they
continues.
tend to be or they can be in a lot of cases.
This
I
kid
won't
plays
argue against that,
and his numbers show it.
but
Ran for better than 150 yards.
there's plenty of socially awkward people in high school, and I'm not just talking about people that are shy or don't have, you know, the certain social skills that certain people think they should have. There's a lot of stupid stuff that goes on in high school. I would say that's socially awkward. So I think that high school creates more socially awkward people than homeschooling does, or at least it's a pretty good competitor. So there's no reason why homeschooling doesn't mean that it doesn't have to mean that you're sheltering them, right? I mean, you can shelter a child anywhere. But I'll get off my rant about that. I have a lot to say on that topic. Um, Won my first game of the season. I won the time of possession, total offense. Rushing yards came mostly by that run at the beginning. Pretty good stats for the first game. Let's check out the player stats. 7 out of 15. It's like 50%, right? 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. QBR of 161.7. Houston QB was 7 out of 20, just 35%. All right, guys. That will be it for this stream. I want to continue this Backbreaker series. I've never gotten really deep into Backbreaker career mode. So maybe there's some cool stuff. Maybe it's just a boring season mode. Probably be able to tell when I'm like a season or two in. But that's about it. I will see you all in the next one, and keep calm and make peace.